Welcome to Mixtapes and Mopeds, the podcast where lifelong friends Red, Wheels, and Panda take you back to the golden era of the 80s and 90s.
Welcome to another version of Mixtapes and Mopeds with Red Wheels and the Panda. What's cooking this week, Panda?
Another crazy week in the Panda household, but enjoying the warmth that has come across the Atlanta area. But nothing too noteworthy to talk about this past week. This coming week, I'm going to talk about here in a second. But there was a big event in the Wheels household, if I recall. So how did your weekend go there, Steve-O?
I think back, it seems like it was yesterday, but for all those listening, well, for Jack and Stone that listen to this podcast, the biggest things in our lives of some of the fun things we had was, graduation from high school and then graduation from college. And the Panda household has had a couple of college graduates. All three of the boys have gotten out of high school. And then I just had my first weekend of having a college graduate coming out of South Carolina. And my God, I got to tell you, it's such a proud moment. Regardless of, however they do, once you just get that piece of paper, that means they're getting closer to being off the payroll.
Yes, so true. I've got one off the payroll, another almost off the payroll. So, and then another to go. But the one thing that I want to ask you, because it's pretty clear to me, given Chloe's performance in undergrad at South Carolina, that she got all of her intelligence from her mama bear, because she wasn't she a dang near 4.0 student there, or was she actually a 4.0 student at South Carolina?
It's really almost kind of disgusting. She was a 4.0 student, graduated in 3 years.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And not just in any sort of minor major. It was computer information technology and engineering. So it's and did a semester over in Amsterdam, and with maybe she had one summer of coursework. Now, fortunately, it was interesting listening to the speaker because it was the COVID class, and we all have COVID kids, and it was the COVID class the first year. They were doing it online, and so that COVID class, she was doing it online in high school and was part of that whole deal. So she was doing college classes in high school and just blew through it. But we're all proud of our kids. You and I go back. So Pan and I went to high school together and barely knew each other in high school. But as soon as we graduated, we just got lucky enough to find a job in the same place, and from ever there. We've always been.
I made $3.35 an hour, baby, and you made $4.25 an hour because you had a year experience.
Yeah, because I had a year experience. Because I knew how to drive the van to go dig a plant out of the ground.
Oh man, the Heritage Garden Center, we love you. Love you. That was the worst job, but the best job at the same time.
Best and worst job, and we'll talk about that again later in our podcast.
We
So coming up today, look for our listener, so for Stone and Jack, please stay tuned here. We got some good stuff we're talking about. We're going to be visiting, some of the best bars across the country that the Panda and Wheels have been to. We're going to be visiting some, Mount Rushmore of female singers. And then we're going to kind of a way back story of talking about some stories of back in the college days. So stay tuned.
Yep.
So Panda, you got to tell us, I always tell the Panda, well, if you need somebody to go to a concert, I'm not much of a concert goer, but I'll go with you.
Yes,
you
say,
will. Hey, you're going to go to, I want to go to somewhere. You go, yep. As long as I'm in town and I'm not busy, I'll go with the Panda wherever. So
yes,
he's dragged me to more concerts than I can remember, and I'm the lost goer. I'll go there and figure out a way to either get in the front row or
yep.
drink
Yeah.
beer or be talking to somebody along the way. But Panda always brings me along, and he loves the music, and I figure out how to make a good time.
You always have a good time. So it is greatly appreciated that you come on. I have taken you to not one, but two Judas Priest shows. I think one was probably all you needed in your life, but I appreciate you going to that second one.
After midnight, rocking to the dawn.
Oh, so you'd asked about how my week had gone. So my week coming up is it's the annual summer kickoff of the Panda Concert Fest. So I thought I would. I'm going to be talking about these shows as we go to them over the next 3 or 4 months. So I thought I would just tee it up, and it actually starts Friday. So at State Farm Arena with Hart, who's on my bucket list, and Cheap Trick opening up for them. I've seen Cheap Trick, I think, at Midtown Music Festival or some festival, but I've never seen Heart. And when we start talking about Mount Rushmore of ladies of rock, Ann Wilson is definitely up there for me in that discussion. So I'm super excited about that. Jill and I are going to go down on Friday down at State Farm. So that kicks off the season, and then we go about a month, and then this.
That really, I mean, both those bands were growing up. Yeah, both those bands are the 80s. Now, quite frankly, I always get Cheap Trick, and I don't know what it is, Cheap Trick and Styx. Always confused, and I always think Styx. So I'm thinking, what's a Roboto Bagato?
Mr. Roboto.
Mr. Roboto. And I'm thinking Cheap Trick, and it's always, no, it's Styx.
Yeah.
every
yeah,
time, every time.
They are similar, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Rolling Stones are coming into town at Mercedes, so they got the big stadium.
Come on, everybody. That's been a dream concert. For me, it's hard to go to a stadium to go see something.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this. This was kind of my question for you too. Buying tickets these days, we go online, and now they're so doggone expensive that you have your choice of kind of seats. How did you go buy tickets? When we were in high school, I was trying to think back going, I cannot remember how the hell we bought tickets back in high school, or
you would go down. You'd go down to the ticket office. You go to the arena or whatever, and they would open up tickets on a day, and you'd stand in line, rain or shine. And that's how.
Is that how we bought tickets?
Yeah.
When we go to the Coliseum, we had to go to the Coliseum, stand in the line. Because then when we moved to Atlanta, it was go to Tower Records and stand in line at Tower Records.
Yeah. Then you could go, like in Atlanta, you could go to the music store. They'd sell them all that. But I remember I saw REM in San Diego at their terrible arena downtown San Diego. But I had to go there and stand in line at the arena. That was the only way to get the tickets. So we complain about Ticketmaster, and rightfully so, in my opinion, because they're about 40% of the cost, it seems like, of a ticket these days. But the convenience factor is truly very much better, and you can transfer them, sell them, transfer them. So there are a lot of benefits to paying that Ticketmaster kind of surcharge. But
for all of our listeners out there in those early days, so first it was standing in those lines, and then we got to go to the lines at the record stores, and then it got even a little better. Then we were on the phone and dialing up on the phone, right. Ding, 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 shoot, ding, 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 shoot, ding, 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 and you just dial for 4 hours, then you go, oh, they're all sold out. Then it got a little better, and the same thing happened with the internet. Buy a ticket, 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 until finally you got through to go buy a ticket. Now they're so expensive. You just have to go suck it up and figure out how much you're going to pay, unless you're going to see whatever Taylor Swift, unless you're a Swiftie.
Well, I don't know. You went to the U2 show in Atlanta back in the day, right?
No, I did not go to that.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I had never seen U2, and they were coming. It was the second show on Octung Baby, but this is pre-internet. This was like 1991 or something. Anyway, literally the tickets started at like 10 a.m. Saturday morning, and you had to call, and we had gone out hard in Buckhead on a Friday night.
Whoa. I don't know about you. I don't know what that means.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Save that story for another day, mister.
Stone, you're not listening. Our one listener, Jack, you can listen to your dad. Maybe he did, but this to our one listener.
So I remember dialing the number at 10 a.m., whatever, and laying on the floor next to the phone because remember we had corded phones, right? And I just stuck the phone by my ear while I kind of laid, and it took like 45 minutes, and they're like, "Hey, hello, whatever," and then I ordered the ticket. So that's the way it used to happen, which was not terribly efficient, but it was a little bit cheaper. There were no service charges when you did it that way, but. It is what it is. Progress, the price of progress. So,
all right,
yes,
Alanis
okay,
Morissette, Joan Jett. I wrote down you suck because I
yes,
went, Alanis Morissette and but both those two. Come on, I mean
yeah,
they're
yeah,
both those two. Awesome.
yep. Both love both of those ladies. Then following them, about 3 weeks later, Sammy Hagar with Loverboy coming through. And the reason that I'd never seen Sammy, but he is playing nothing but Van Halen songs. He's got Michael Anthony on bass from Van Halen. He's got Jason Bonham, John
The
Bonham's
old Van
son.
Hagar. Oh no,
Yeah,
man.
so
Yeah, Sammy
yeah,
Hagar. Oh
and
no.
Joe Satriani on playing Eddie's guitar parts.
Ah,
So
crap.
that's my last shot to listen to Van Halen because I never saw them the first time around, if you can believe that. I don't know. Did you ever see Van Halen?
No, but my
No.
freshman year, my roommate, I mean, I've heard Van Halen so many times. He like it was every single day. Hot for Teacher was coming. That's the 1984 came out that
Oh
freshman
yeah,
year. That
yeah,
played in our room. All the it was
yeah,
just great. I mean, it was good, and all those whole Van Halen stuff was just the best. I mean, you
yeah,
couldn't. It was the best. And they'll
yeah.
throw in Loverboy. Come on,
Loverboy, yeah, I was a big Loverboy fan. I've seen them each of the last 2 summers. 2 years ago, they were great. Last year, they sucked. So hopefully this year they'll be good again. And then in August, Train, REO Speedwagon, and Yacht Rock Review. So Train holds a special place in my heart. I've never seen them, like Train a lot. But when the Wheels were pre-married and we took a trip to Hilton Head, and that week, which I think was your first week together as a couple, at least on a trip, Train was all over the airwaves. Drops of Jupiter, or whatever the songs were, that were playing that week. So Train, just every time I hear Train, I think of the Wheelers. And you were going with us to that show, so that should be a
So
nice.
by the way, a funny story about the whole Hilton that trip was I had only met her 3.5 weeks before we were supposed to go there, and I was going to be on my own. And the pandas knew me, and they went, "You're inviting this new girl?
We
Can
had to
we
have a
meet her?
pre-meet.
Can
We
we
had to
meet
have a
her?"
pre-meet. We went to Rio Bravo to make sure she passed inspection, which of course she did. After the meeting, we were like, well, what's she doing with Steve? But anyway, so she passed with flying colors. So
By the
that's
way,
a
Train,
good show.
I've seen him in concert 3 times, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. They have so many good songs, and their lead singer is one of the best performers out there. He's
Oh, yeah.
just a great. Matter of fact, we will be there at that show. We will be here,
Yeah.
and we will be at Sammy Hagar as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, that'll be good.
We have lawn seats for Sammy Hagar.
I got lawn seats for Sammy so we can sit together. And then
Okay.
I got your ticket for Train, so you're covered there. And then finally, closing out in October, ELO comes through. So you might laugh at ELO like, what? But Jill and I went right before COVID because they hadn't played in Atlanta in 40 years and I'd never seen them. And I swear to goodness, that is probably one of my top 5 concerts ever. Jill, like, I don't know if I'm going to know any of these songs. She knew every song, and we just become huge fans. And they're coming back through in their final tour. Like, oh, we got to go. So we're going again.
Well, you put this on the list, and I was looking at the pregame show here, and I went down. And I go, I know I love those guys, but I just don't remember anything. They're one of those. They're the orchestra band, and growing up in the '70s, we had a lot of orchestra bands, and that is one of the best orchestra bands. Meaning, the orchestra may not show up, but their background music, they just put on a show. I mean, every song that I look at the best of, it is 20 songs of
Oh
the
my
best of.
God. Yeah,
I mean,
it's
just great. If you like anything of that genre, just great
yeah,
music.
yeah. So that's yep, that's what is kicking off for me this coming weekend. I'm super excited, and next week I'll give you an update on how that heart show. Please, 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 Ann Wilson have the voice that I expect it to be, and I'm looking forward to a great show there. So that whole topic there, Steve-O, then got me on the hey, let's talk about women in rock. I actually created a playlist on Spotify. I call it Ladies of Rock, and it's really started with I did this concept of who's your Mount Rushmore? Who's your favorite four female singers? And you just went through it. It's freaking hard to figure out who it
So
is.
let
It's
me
hard.
understand this. Do
Yeah.
you get four and I get four? So we
Yes.
have we have four mountains that
We
the
have two
people in
mountains of
the
four.
the people in South Dakota are gonna already say we got four presidents. You have four
Exactly.
guys out there, but we got to have now four rock
Yeah.
stars on each side. So we have the
Yep.
Panda Mountain and we have the
Yes.
Wheels Mountain in South Dakota.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'm guessing both are going to be very good mountains, but
All right.
Panda's
Now
going to be a little bit
let
better.
me understand the other part of the rules because I wrote so many of these down.
Okay.
Now when you say rock, is it rock
It's
or
your definition of what you think rock and roll is. So if you want to put like Tiffany on your mountain, then go ahead. Candy Pop, Lover.
I don't even know who that is,
All
but
right. I don't think you do.
that
I didn't
one's
think
not
you
going to
did.
be on my that one's not going
Yeah.
to be on my mountain.
No, exactly. I wouldn't think so. So yeah, whatever you want to use as your definition of rock. I used kind of more kind of less poppy, but I like Whitney Houston has the best voice probably ever in music. She's not on my list because I really view her as like a
See, my
pop
argument
diva.
there is I've got three of those. I've got Aretha Franklin. It's just, I
Ooh,
mean, throwing in Aretha Franklin, and I would also be throwing in Etta James in that whole conversation of my favorite just listening and Adele. I mean, I throw Adele in it.
oof.
Anytime Adele comes on, but she's not rock, and that's why I said give me a
Okay.
clarification.
All right. All right. Let me do my list, and then you can do yours. Um, this is hard. It's really hard. So the first on my list is easy though for me. I'm not saying she's the best ever. I'm saying she's my favorite, and that's Pat Benatar. So I think her voice is just perfect for rock and roll, but she's like an operatic voice, but it's not opera, it's rock. And then her husband Neil Giraldo, those two both got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. But I just love all of she kind of faded at the end, but all of her early work, I just love the power of her voice. So she's in the George Washington position on the Mount Rushmore for me.
I mean, she was on my list, and I was debating. I'm going, so I'm going to make it easy. I'm not going to put on the same rock.
All
I'm
right.
not going to put on the same
Okay.
on top of my mountain, but she was on my list in the top 10. Let's say.
There you go. But she should be on anybody's top 10. So okay, number two, little bit controversial, but maybe not. Deborah Harry from Blondie. I was a big Blondie fan. They were a very unique band
Can you
back.
sing me a little Rapture? Sing me a little
Oh,
Rapture.
they did. That's the first time I ever heard of rap, and they did it in a rock song, and it was weird and strange, and it is awesome. And she was amazing, and she wasn't
Oh,
bad
quit
on.
lying. By the way, Jilly, if you're listening, she is pretty hot.
I was going to say, not pretty easy on the eyes too, and I guess Pat Benatar was also pretty easy on the eyes back then. Not that I'm saying that had anything to do with my choices, by the way. No, I'm only about the voice here, but it does help when they are attractive. So, and those they both were. Number three on the list, Chrissy Hind from The Pretenders. So,
Oh man,
Chris,
yes, man. Especially when she sings "Back to Ohio."
I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
she's
yeah,
from Ohio.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think she
yeah.
played with a bunch of Brits. So in my book, because I like 80s rock a lot and I have all these albums.
Yeah,
If you don't have Pretenders 1, Pretenders 2 in your album collection, if you're a serious album collector, then you're not a true fan of rock and roll. Those two albums are great. She is amazing.
that
Just
song
love her
comes on,
voice.
takes us all back into right back to high school. Especially
Yeah.
if you grow up in Ohio. That's a
Yeah.
solid pick.
Yep. And then final on my list, Joan Jett. I just love Joan Jett. So hard to I couldn't keep her off. And I have a list of honorable mentions like Ann
Whoa,
Wilson.
hold on. Save the honorable mentions.
Okay,
We're
all
gonna
right,
do them
all
all
right.
last. We're gonna
Okay,
do them last because I've got
let's
a
hear
ton of
yours.
those as well.
Let's hear yours.
Joan Jett, my memories of Joan Jett and that music go back to the Charlie Horse. So we had a bar growing up in Ohio that was actually at the time they coined it the largest bar in the country because it took over like two Walmarts. Back in the day, it was called Buckeye Mart. And it was a freaking huge bar at the time. And I just remember listening to Joan Jett. She was I Love Rock and Roll, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
She actually, most of her big hits were covers, which is interesting, but she made her versions were always better than the originals in my book. So I love Joan Jett. So yeah, let's
All
hear
right.
your list, man. Come on.
My Mount Rushmore, my number one, and it was just, I mean, I just love her music. Doesn't matter. I love listening to it. Fleetwood Mac was such a big thing. Listening to those guys, and when I hear Stevie Nicks, so for all those lists, she's just for me rock and roll. I can listen to all the Stevie Nicks stuff. She just sold all her stuff, I think, for 80 million bucks. As she goes, I mean, she's about 80, I think. She still plays a little bit. Go back, listen to some Fleetwood Mac back in the 80s. It's just the Tusk is one of my favorite. All just
That's awesome. I love that song.
Man.
I have that album. But the Rumors album.
Rumors, that's it. Rumors.
Yeah,
too,
that
man.
album. Whoo,
But,
loaded.
most when you buy an album, you could listen to it back and front. Now you go, maybe I get a song or two at best. There's a couple of them that are putting them out, but at best. But back then, man, you could find a ton of them.
Yeah. All right.
All right, my number two, man. I have so many honorable mentions in here because there's so many of these artists that I hear that there's like one song and that's my favorite song of it's like your favorite restaurant. I have one little dish at a restaurant and go, I had that one little dish, but the rest of the menu's Yeah. But I gotta go around. She's got the best album for me, and I can listen to the album over and over, and that's Alanis Morissette and Jagged Little Pill. There's not a whole pile of everything else, but I come back to the album and I go, that album makes you one of my favorites. I could stick you up on the mountain and listen to you, even though it's like the poor guy from what was that? What was the guy? He was from the Family Show. That whole album was about that guy from the Family Show of
What's it?
John. God, I can't remember his name. You have to go look it up. Yeah, she wrote about him that he broke up with her or something. She just despised him of it.
She destroyed him on that album. So some artists are like one hit wonders. She's a one album wonder, but oh
One
my
album
God,
wonder.
was it a glorious album? Oh my God.
That's right.
Glorious.
She's a one, and it's just I can listen to that thing all day long.
Yeah.
She doesn't have that, like you said, not multiple albums, but unlike some of these other ones that are out of my list. All right, man, I got so many on my list. I talked to my wife about this as well, and we went through so many of them. But I got to go at number 3. She's passed away, but I just love her music. Is Amy Winehouse.
Wow.
Just her music's just her voice. It's not too many albums.
No,
But she is one of those that when you hear it, it's just good rock and roll music and more modern. It's not back in the 80s and 90s, but it is taken off of those 80s and 90s folks. Yep.
You could argue like she has the purest and best rock and roll voice ever.
She's an old soul singing in the 2000 era. She's an old soul that was singing. Yep.
Yeah, she left us too soon. She had some personal demons, but man, incredible choice. She was very powerful. I really like that choice.
Oh, I really struggle now.
All right, last one.
I have 10. I really have 10. I have 10. I'm going to go with, I'm between really 2 because there's 2 songs. I'm going to go with Ann Wilson and Heart. I just that Barracuda back in
Ah.
the 80s. If you just go listen to some old Heart, that is good old rock and roll, and
is.
Heart with Ann Wilson, just good music.
I don't know if you've seen on TikTok or anywhere, but they brought Ann and Nancy Wilson out in front of a band and they sang at the Kennedy Center to Led Zeppelin. They played Stairway to
To Led
Heaven
Zeppelin. Oh, no
to
kidding. No,
Led
I didn't see it.
Zeppelin.
Really, no
Oh,
kidding.
you have to go find that. Oh, it almost, I mean, I get chills when I
Chills.
listen to
Really?
it. And you have Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, and they're like, they're so overcome with just emotion because they're having it play back. It, not say I'm not saying better, but it's played back in such a powerful way. They were knocked over, and yeah, you got to listen to that. It's I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. She's an amazing voice for sure.
All right, we have, those are two big mountains, and I mean, I think Andy's Mountain is probably really cornerstones in rock. Mine are kind of somewhat one album wonders, just because
Oh no,
I
I
go
love your
after,
list. I love
I
your
go
mountain.
after,
I
I
will
go
not throw
after
rocks at your mountain, Steve. I promise.
I'll gaze afar at your mountain and listen to the album. Well, yeah.
Yes.
All right, we got to
Um,
go to the honorable mentions because in this
yes.
category, man, I really had so many honorable mentions.
Go ahead. Give us your honorables.
You know, really my first one is it's one song, but every time that song comes on, and we were just at a wedding last year, and I'm screaming, I'm on stage getting filmed singing Four Non Blondes, Linda Perry. I mean, that song, whenever I hear that song, I go nuts. I mean, I just love that. It puts me right back into a memory of, and just fantastic. And then every time you turn the TV on at 2 o'clock in the morning and you see the little puppy going, and you Sarah McLaughlin, you're listening
Oh,
going,
yeah.
and you want to go, Sarah,
Oh,
no, but I love your music.
yeah. That's funny.
And the one I really had a problem with was when I hear the "Won't you find me a Mercedes Benz?"
Janice.
Janis Joplin, man, that song and her music. She was
Yeah.
very short with us,
Yeah.
and she is like the very queen of the beginning of
Yeah.
everything rock and roll. I remember how was she another drug overdose?
Yeah. I think she OD'd. Yeah.
Yeah. She was big, and then I have to have the honorable mention of Etta James as sang my wife's song at our wedding, "At Last," and then at the wedding and we're singing it, and I always thought it was Atlanta, and that was always "At Last," and so I never knew the words. I always thought she picked the song because it said
Oh,
Atlanta. I just finally learned about that 3 or 4 years ago after
that's awesome.
back in our time, Tracy Chapman, Come On Fast Cars,
Yeah.
the
Love that.
Cranberries, Evanescence, Garbage,
Mm,
the Eurythmics, Lady Gaga, come on, Lady
yeah.
Gaga, Belinda Carlisle, and Terry Nunn, very big honorable mention, Berlin. Those are mine.
Wow, Jill loves the Berlin. So that is a great list of honorable mentions. It's a shame that you can't put everybody up on there, but that's why they call it the Mount Rushmore. You can only put four up there. So I have a lot of overlap. Looking at my list here, Alanis Morissette is on my honorable mention. Ann Wilson is probably the first off the mountain for me. So she's on your mountain. I'm glad that she made yours because she was just first one off. Janis Joplin is on my list as well as she was with you. I have Gwen Stefani on my list. I'm a big fan of No Doubt and her solo career. I think in the modern musicians, I think she had the
I
best
took her off
voice.
mine because I love her and she's great, but you watch the American Idol and go, eh.
I don't watch American Idol, so I'm not tainted by that. If there's anything to be tainted by,
No, American Idol is awesome and she's really good at it, but yeah, she's worn me out.
I gotcha. Cheryl Crow is on my list. I was a big fan of Cheryl Crow. She put out several really good albums in the
Oh,
90s.
that's one. I was trying to remember, going, who was that girl that dated the biker? And I'm trying to remember. I didn't like Google it, Cheryl Crow. Oh,
Cheryl
yeah.
Crow, very
Man,
good.
when it's Acoustic Sunday on what do we listen to? Pop Rocks. Acoustic Sunday. Sheryl Crow when she gets on there, good stuff.
Final two on my list, Stevie Nicks, which was on your Mount Rushmore. So thankfully she was up there because she's on my honorable mention. And then finally, must be in the conversation, Tina Turner. Tina Turner was.
Oh yeah. I
She's
was looking at that. Yeah,
yeah.
that was. Yep. Yes, Tina Turner. You better be good to me.
Yep.
You better be good to me. Ah man, and just her performance.
Oh yeah.
She was just. The other one I didn't put it on my list was Gladys Knight and the Pips. Man, you put me as some Gladys Knight and the Pips and get them out there. I'll be in a wedding in Ohio this weekend, man. I'll be out there. I know Gladys Knight and the Pips will be on as well as Aretha Franklin, and we'll be out
Yeah.
as well as Otis Redding and.
You could like Cher in the 70s, 80s was big, and I liked her early days, and then Diana Ross, I liked her early days.
Oh
So
yeah, wow.
there's a lot of deserving women, but anyway, I think we have pretty much covered that. That is our Mount Rushmore of ladies of rock. Love that topic. Thank you for participating, Steve-O. Appreciate that.
Now we are going to go to the Dirty Niner, and we put topics against each other. And this week's is going to be our top 9 list. And we go back and forth on our top 9 list. So Andy Panda
You
came
go
up
first
with.
this week. You
All
go
right, I'm
first.
up first this week.
Yep.
So Panda
Yep.
picked the best bars. Let me clarify the rules. So
Yep.
Panda, what are the rules of the best bars? You said it could be closed or open, which is
Yep.
fine. That's a good rule.
Yep.
Any other rules about the bars? Anything else?
So, you know me, there's going to be a tendency for them to play music not required. Not all of my bars were music oriented, but it could be a club.
Oh,
It could be a bar
oh!
club kind
You
of
just opened
scenario.
my whole brain to like 10 new bars. I just
Uh,
went, crap, and I already know 2 you're already gonna say.
yes, you do. I'm sure you
All
do.
right, I'm gonna kick it off because I've got this Ohio University shirt on for a reason. Not only the Carolina hat on because my daughter just graduated this week and I'm so proud of her. For those that are listening to Apple and Spotify, I did have Ohio University and a Carolina hat on. But my number one bar is growing up. Man, there is nothing. I went to college at Athens, Ohio. Back in the day, it was number one party school in the country by Playboy. Now they have shed that little bit of a level, but the CI in Athens, Ohio is my favorite bar. You could go there and get a 50-cent beer in college. Old Milwaukee Light, play pool all night long, and I couldn't have a better bar growing up. And matter of fact, my name is carved in the wall in the bathroom. I still can find it in a little
I don't want
corner.
to. I don't want to hear about the rest of your name being carved in a bathroom wall. Let's not go any further than that,
It
please.
wasn't from the anything else, and yeah. Anyway, the CI in Athens, Ohio, is my number one bar. Can't go any better, just because that's what I grew up with.
There you go. I like that. So I'm going to stick with that theme for my bar. I'm not going to say this is the best bar in America, but it's the most meaningful to me. And this is the first night that the future Mrs. Panda and I went out on our first date. We went to Yogi's Beach Bar in Cardiff by the Sea, California, which is just north of Solana Beach. So you want to do a little pizza port action in Solana Beach, you would just drive due north about maybe 3-4 miles, or maybe not even that far. And on your right side, you would see Yogi's, and that's where we went on our first day. And so that's why it makes the number 2 on our list this week.
Is that where she asked you out? Hey,
No,
come on, let's go. You
we're
said
already
that.
on a date at that point, so the ask me out had already gone down.
All right, number 2.
Number 3.
3. Thank you. There we go. Now I got to count better. All right, number 3. I, This is another hard topic because yeah, everybody listening, we've been to bars all over the country. We've had good times everywhere. Everybody listening, whether you're in Dallas, you're in San Francisco, you're in Miami, you're in Atlanta, Georgia, there's so many good places. And I have been in every major city and found great bars to go to. I mean, golly. But I gotta say, and it's not there anymore. And Panda can relate to this, and anybody that lived in Atlanta in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s is one of the best bars of all time was the Orchestra Pit. And it had one pool table. And come to find out, my wife went there exactly all the time I went there. We never met. I probably kicked her ass in pool, but she would say she kicked my ass in pool. But we went there all the time. It had yards of beer, and it was the stay place, or the place we would go to. Now, out of that whole Buckhead region, we'll have a ton of honorable mentions that Andy and I talk about. For anybody that wants to go through cruising through the days, there are a couple websites to go look at that. But one of the honorable mentions was the best bar almost of all time was the Orchestra Pit.
So Orchestra Pit was on my list, and I was going to make it first on my list, but then I decided to go Yogi's. So I'm glad that you took that from me, so that I don't have to waste this pick with the Orchestra Pit. I love that, the yards of beer, and it was like the first place we would go most nights, and then we would head off to other places. But Buckhead was a different place back then. It's no longer there. Sad, sad, sad. But anyway, the O Pit, love that place. All right, my number 4 on the list is Exit Inn in Nashville. So this
Oh
is
man, now I remember. I was racking my brain going, what the heck was the name of that place? Exit Inn in Nashville.
Exit
Yes.
Inn. So that club that is still going strong. When I was in college, REM was hanging out. They were recording one of their albums. I think it was Life's Rich Pageant. And they Exit Inn is known to get regional bands coming through. And yeah, they were always at the bar. And I was not always at the bar, but when I did go, they were there a lot. So I actually got to hang out with REM. But lots of great bands go through there. On a Tuesday night, they had a $5 all you could drink, like pitcher or cups of beer or whatever. So that was pretty popular senior year, I would say. And yeah, that one and it's again still going strong. It's just across from the Vanderbilt campus, so easily
And
accessed.
you took me there when we visited, I think
Oh
freshman
yeah,
year or sophomore year.
yeah.
Sophomore, I can't remember when we were there. And I
I
have
don't
been
remember
back
either.
there one more time, maybe twice in different
Yeah,
events.
good
Yep.
good place. Yep.
Great pick. At number 4. At number 5, this is another hard pick because I could take us to so many locations. And we think about bars, and so far we've been talking about good times. I think I'm going to take it number 5. I'm going to take us back to the old times in Columbus, Ohio. And I'm going to take us on the campus of Ohio State on High Street. And back in the old days. And back in the old days, they used to serve these things called buckets of beer. And a bucket of beer was, I don't know, $20 or something like that. And yeah, you drink from the bucket of beer. And it was Papa Joe's on High Street.
Yeah.
And you would get a bucket of beer for $20 and you'd have 5 people. And I know Panda's been up there, and we have another one of our friends, Mr. Dave. Honorable mention. We don't say any more than Mr. Dave. That we'd go up there for buckets of beer and just had a ball on High Street. But that's probably it's one of my favorite all-time places to go to.
I'm guessing it wasn't $20 either. I'm sure it was cheaper than that. And when people think of a bucket of beer, you think of 6 long necks in ice in a bucket. No,
No,
this was
it was a 5 gallon bucket.
it
So
was
I mean,
beer poured
five
into a
gallon
bucket, and you
That's
were
why it's 20
ladling it
bucks.
out. You had 10 people around this bucket ladling it. By the end, the swill at the bottom of that was disgusting.
Disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting. Oh yes, that was
That
a good
became
time.
Red's pee bucket. Sorry.
Oh, all right. I am somewhat conflicted here. I'm looking at my list, and this I'm going to go with this one just because we're over-indexing a little bit on Atlanta, but this was the bar that got me indoctrinated into the Atlanta scene. And so there were two locations, one in Sandy Springs and one in Buckhead, and it was called Good Old Days.
Ah,
And we spent
man.
so much time at Good Old
Ah,
Days. Loved both of those places.
ah.
There was volleyball in the back of the
We
Sandy
had
Springs
so
location.
much
Yeah,
fun at
yeah.
the good old days. So my first indoctrination into the Atlanta scene, I came down here and saw Mr. Panda, and he's the one that got me to move to Atlanta from Lancaster. Sorry, the users or my parents ever listen to this show. That's how I got to Atlanta. Anyway, good old days. First place he took me out to. Matter of fact, 1990, the Ramones were. I didn't go there, but I drove by good old days, stopped in there, had a beer, and they were right next door in that in their little concert place. Like I was listening to the Ramones right next door to it. You were at home because you had to work or something. The next work got in the way that time. Good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have some honorable mentions that kind of pole vault off of that or vault off of that. So that was number 6.
Yep. We're on to number 7.
We're loading up with Atlanta. I'm going to take us to a vacation place. We get happy in a vacation place. There's several folks, and especially you're from Ohio. A lot of folks go to this vacation place, and I couldn't leave out this vacation place. And then when I got to the vacation place, I went, golly, there's 3 of them that really. There's one that's newer, but there's 2 that we've been going to forever, and I got to be pick between those 3. And so the other 2 are going to be honorable mentions coming up. But I picked instead of Salty Dog, I picked the Sea Pines Bar or the Sea Pines Club. It used to be the Marriott Club, just sitting there on the beach watching the volleyball going on, and the Sea Pines Club, you bike to it. We've stayed all around it. It's one of my favorite all-time places. There's 2 more right around there. There's probably 5 more, 10 more all around there. But that place just brings great memories of all time coming back there. And for anybody, you ever want to find a great bar, at number 7, man, that's one of the best bars in the country to just go hang out, drink some beer, listen to music, and have a good time.
I think these days it's called the Sea Pines Beach Club, but
Yes,
still, yeah,
Sea Pines.
still,
Yep.
yeah. That's just comfortable heaven. That experience, like you said, that is a great choice. I am down to my last choice, so I'm going to have lots of couple of cool honorable mentions, but I'm going to go with a bar that unfortunately is no longer with us. It was called Joe's Generic Bar in Austin, Texas, on 6th Street, and it
Oh,
didn't even have
yes.
I took you there. It didn't even have a name on it. All it had was one of those, what are those things that are on the groceries, that the little barcode thing? It just had the barcode. That was it. Joe's
Scan code.
Generic
Yes, I remember it
Bar.
well. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Oh
remember
my
it well.
God. So
Great pick. Oh,
you
yes.
go in there and you're listening to some guy or a small group playing the best blues you've ever heard in your life. You don't know who these people are. Musicians came from all over Texas just to play here, and they pass the boot around. You throw some money in, you drink a cheap beer, and that's how I would
Oh,
start almost every evening out on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, to go to Joe's Generic Bar. But I went back last time and it is gone, gone, gone. So I'm very bummed, but that was a very, very cool spot. Wish it was still around.
6th Street. Now they've had another new street that popped up. They've got food trucks down it too, man. There is that's just such a good scene. And the hard thing about for all of us is we experience walking through memory lane. COVID rewrote the books on everything besides everything getting expensive from a real estate perspective. But COVID rewrote the book for a lot of these old bars, and
Sure did.
we just now lost a lot of memories because they couldn't survive with no business coming in unless they were going to have food delivery. But a lot of these guys just survived on selling beer and shots, and nobody
Yeah.
was doing it during COVID. All right, number 9. I'm really going to struggle at number 9. I have so many I've got to go through. But we have not mentioned anything from the back at the home territory. So we got to go back to Lancaster, Ohio. And so Lancaster, Ohio, there was really about two picks. There was a crowd that went to one of them, and there was a
Mhm.
crowd that went to the other one.
Mhm.
And they both go,
Sure.
we frequent between both of them.
Yep. Yep.
And we love both of them. It's
Yes, we
not about
do.
we don't like
Yep.
either one of them. We love both of them. And one of them had a really quirky owner. The other one had a wife and a husband, and then
Yep.
now son running the place. And now like three cars have been through the front door. So now, so it's really hard. But the Panda and I were used to the 70-cent drinks. And for those in California, I know you don't know what a 70-cent drink is. That's not even an ice cube for you out there. But it was a 70-cent drink in the 80s, and we could have a gin lemon 7 at Sweeney's Pub in Lancaster, Ohio, and that was one of the best growing up experiences. You can still show up there any given Thursday, any given week, and
Mhm.
matter of fact, you probably see about 10 people you graduated high
Yep.
school with.
Yep.
But you could go in there and be like Norm. You could say, "Hey, Norm." It's not Cheers. Cheers was another one on my list of going into Boston. It's a great bar in Boston, but that is the Cheers of Lancaster, Ohio, and there's a lot more honorable mentions that we're going to have.
Yeah, Sweeney's Pub. I hear they have a good book club there too. So you and I were Sweeney's goers, but the Fairview deserves a shout out. A lot of folks, that was the other bar. And
Bingo.
yeah,
Fairview. We love the Fairview.
yeah, back and forth, but I spent more time in the Sweeney's. That was my first bar when I became of age, or even technically before I was of age. So
Yeah, that's why it's become for everybody.
yeah.
Technically, pretty much anybody underage, we're going to be at Sweeney's.
Yeah. All right. So
Liquor control, you're not allowed listening because
yeah,
that was back when it was 18, 19, so we're okay.
yeah. So
Honorable mentions.
actually,
Honorable
I am.
mentions.
I got my. You took Sweeney's from my list, and you took Orchestra Pit from my list. I got my list in, so I'm happy. Let's hear your honorable mentions.
All right, my honorable mentions start out Greenville, South Carolina. Hey, shout out Mike Fletcher, good friend of ours. Yeah, go to Vault Invader in Greenville, South Carolina. One of the best speakeasies.
Hmm.
It's at the bottom of a place. If you ever want to have your best Manhattan, holy crap almighty, their mixed drinks in that place is just, but get there early. But they don't open until they don't early. Go to Greenville, South Carolina. Other honorable mentions, not open anymore, and the Red and Panda, really, 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 we all love this place. $3 Cafe, Buckhead, one of the best places we ever had in our entire lives. We still have a couple $3 around town, nothing like it back in the day. Other honorable mention, we want to have some fun, go to Newport, Kentucky. Holy crap, on the river. That's just some fun barges. They're sitting out there, a couple bars along the way. There's not one good spot there. There's a bunch of good spots. Disco Kroger's back in the day.
Oh my.
There was a place Limelight and then Rupert.
Yeah.
My favorite line from one of our friends who will be nameless in this whole podcast said, "What does it take to get arrested around here?" What's that question? And there were five of us that went to Rupert's on a Tuesday night, which was the night for educators or teachers, whatever, during the
Those
summer.
ladies' night. Those
It was
ladies' night.
ladies' night on
Yes.
Tuesday night, and we all got overserved. Those
Yeah.
people overserved us, and five of us ended up going five separate directions and figuring out how we got home. And well, I don't know, better part of 7 miles north of us.
I walked
Uh,
most of that 7 miles.
I've got several. I've got a taxi, and then I got another ride. There's several stories to go in there. We had a Saab that broke down in the middle of a traffic
Yep.
light.
Yep. That's what generated the arrest comment. Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yes.
that was the arrest comment, right? Who will be nameless. And then finally, we got a couple. One, there's a blues club near Chicago. I can't remember blues. It's right near the stadium. It is just one of the most fun places to go. They play blues. Change the band. You go next door. It is the Blues and I can't remember the name of the place. Go Google it. It's still there. And then finally is Virginia Highlands. Limerick Junction and Moe's and
Moe's
Joe's
and
and
Joe's.
Blind Willie's in Virginia Highlands. Honorable mentions, just fantastic places to go see. And that only just barely touches the surface
Yeah.
of some of the good places we've been.
Moe's and
That's just
Joe's is the coldest PBR you're going to get in the country.
just
Cold. It's
great.
cold.
And Limerick Junction, if you can't have fun in that joint, there's something wrong with you. There's something completely wrong with you.
I'm going to add the Belly Up Bar in Solana Beach, California. That's my favorite bar in that area outside of Yogi's. So I spent a lot more time in Belly Up Bar. A lot of good music coming through there. So Matthew Sweet and a bunch of others through there. So I'll throw that one onto my honorable
I thought you'd have Cotton Club and Smith's Old Bar, man.
I
was all of a
know.
sudden
We
going
could
to
go
that.
all
Holy
day on
crap.
that stuff. I know.
Cotton Club, we go with Web Wilder.
Wet water, baby.
Web Wilder, baby.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So that is I enjoyed the heck out of that one. That was good. Memory lane, lots of good times had on that Dirty Niner. So, Mr. Wheels, we're kind of on this alcohol theme now. So you got a story for us, I hear, to kind of our final segment. You talked about your time at the CI in Athens, Ohio. You got something you want to share with us?
So memory lane, Mr. Panda had a great story of memory lane of Granny on the baseball team. I wish I would have seen Granny run out to second base. So one of the things we all talk about is growing up in Ohio, we all had to have jobs to get to college. I mean, both for paying for college, for spending money, for beer, just to have fun. We all had to have, and we all can list out. It's going to be one of our topics one of these times, with the crappiest jobs you had to go through life to make ends meet and make sure you get there. So when you get to some jobs, you go, man, this is one of the best jobs I had. So I was fortunate. So what Panda's talking about, I was a bartender in Athens, Ohio, at some place called the Frontier Room. And the Frontier Room, back in the day, Ohio University was ranked #1 by Playboy, the #1 party school in America. And Ohio University at the time did not like that reputation. Matter of fact, I had two jobs. I worked in the bar and I worked in the admissions office. And every parent that came through said, "Tell me, really, is this a party school?" Nah, no. No. We just like to have fun here. Do you want your kid would you like your kid to enjoy college? Yeah. Then you want him to come here. Is your kid fun? Well, kind of. Maybe you want to go to Miami.
Oh.
Just kidding. Listener, that's nothing bad about Miami. We love Miami. Anyway, so the Frontier Room was the bar at campus. And so pretty much no campus has bars anymore. And, over my time, that finally got phased out about 2 years after I left. But it was the campus bar, and it was the campus bar that was right next to, but really it only fired up at spring, at the beginning of fall and at spring, because it was mostly an outdoor bar. We had one big activity at this bar that we had a comedy club, and this comedy club would come through once a quarter. And it was a class taught by a professor at the university. He was constantly on Good Morning America and the NBC show for him having this comedy class. And there was only one test in the class, and that was the final exam, which was in front of our bar, and it was the final exam for the comedy club, where they'd get up and do their show. And so you'd have 15 people put up the show, and it was packed for them to do the final exam. And we had some good folks come through, not Matt Lauer, but we did have some great folks that came through on the show. But Panda asked, he goes, "What was your best bartender stories?" And it's kind of funny. I always want to ask, when I get inside of an Uber, or you get inside of a Lyft and go, "Hey, what's your best story?" Man, you can go, "Well, one time we had these two people in the back seat." You go, "Well." So when you're a bartender, it is extremely true that no matter who comes in, there's always somewhere during the day, there's either a guy that comes in that says, "She just broke up with me." There's a girl that comes in that says, "He just cheated on me." There's always somebody that comes in that's having a bad day or doing something. So I probably have hundreds of those. Well, one of these folks that came in, I'll say a random name. His name might have been, we'll say, Guy. And the guy came in and he was having a day, and it happened to be finals week of our winter quarter, but finals week was in March, so it was finally getting a little warm at Ohio University. And guy came in and he was having a bad day because he was not doing so well in a lot of classes, and his parents were on him going, "You better do better because we're gonna pull you back out of this university if you don't go do better." And so he ordered a pitcher, and we fill him up a pitcher, and I start talking to him again and go, "Yeah." We order him a second pitcher, and he goes through the second pitcher, and at that, we were allowed to have a beer or two. We weren't going to go and get hammered or anything. So at pitcher number 3, he goes, crap, I got a history final. I gotta go. I went, what? He goes, what? I got a history final. And I'm saying, my friend Guy there at that time, pseudo name, he was hammered. I mean, couldn't say his name. And off he goes. So next semester I'm bartending, and I see Mr. Guy walk into the bar, and I go, "Hey, how'd that final go? How'd you do?" He goes, "What are you talking about?" I go, "How'd that final go in history?" He goes, "Oh, I aced it. I got an A in class." I went, "You got to be kidding me." What? So one of my funniest stories was one of my bar hypothetical bar friends named Guy came in hammered.
Oh my God.
Took a final. I mean, hammered.
3 pitchers to take a final?
3 pitchers that took the final and got an A in the class. So it may not be a story of debauchery or anything of somebody getting sloshed and I had to walk him home, or a professor that I had to drive home and drop off in front of his wife, which all of those happened. But that one was a good one. So that's
So I wonder if that was Guy's new strategy after that to get sloshed before his finals. Seemed to work.
No, I talked him out of it from that point going forward.
All right.
Well, at least the next time I saw that person.
That person, yeah, this hypothetical person.
That hypothetical person.
Yes.
That's
I love that story.
That's the wear-back memory of bartending at Ohio University.
There's probably some other stories that you, for very good reason, are not able to share.
Yes, there is a dozen others that just are not shareable of being a bartender at a place. I want to thank everybody for attending this week. We've got a lot coming up. We've got a big interview coming up. Where we are going to be talking to somebody going through Alaska. Panda, what else do we have coming up?
So what else do we have coming up? That's a good question. What do we have coming up? You want me to talk about Stephen Wright? Is that what you want me to do?
Well, you can close it.
Okay. We have a talk beyond our guest for next week, which I'm super interested to hear the story. I've read a little bit about it, so I'm super interested. It'll be our first attempt at bringing on a guest, so we will attempt to do our best kind of Katie Couric job here next week, and hopefully it works out. But I will be providing the update on the Heart Cheap Trick concert. We'll see how that goes. I have high expectations, so that'll be a part of the show next week. And then to close out this show, folks probably know the name Stephen Wright. So Stephen Wright was one of those 80s comedians that Steve and I both loved. I didn't realize he loved him as much as I did until recently. And he was very monotone, very intelligent. He made comments that
oh, good God, go Google him and go look at him on YouTube.
Yeah, he's hysterical. Anyway, so I thought we would close out our show with the Stephen Wright quote. There's many more out there, and I cannot possibly mimic his monotone delivery. So I'm just going to go ahead and give the quote. So here you go in my best Stephen Wright impression. So a clear conscience is usually the sign of a bad memory, which It's very true. I have actually people that I know and actually know very well where that applies to them more than they probably realize.
Yeah. There's always somebody with something on their conscience. Yes, 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 yeah. Or they should have it on their conscience, and they don't necessarily care. Everybody, thank you to our listeners. Thank you, Stone. Thanks, Jack, for paying attention to the show. And of course, everybody else. We appreciate everybody. Go out there, like, subscribe, do everything. We really appreciate it. And that'll be all for this week. Thank you, Panda.
Thanks, Devo. See y'all.
See you guys.
Bye.